The gorilla who spoke to humanity. Her final message will haunt you. Imagine a gorilla who could tell you she was sad, who mourned the death of her kitten, who watched movies and cried at emotional scenes, and who left humanity with a haunting warning before she died. This isn't science fiction. This is the true story of Coco, the gorilla who changed everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence. On July 4, 1971, as fireworks exploded across America celebrating Independence Day, a baby gorilla entered the world at the San Francisco Zoo. Her name was Hanabiko, fireworks child in Japanese, though the world would come to know her simply as Coco. Her early life was heartbreaking. When she fell ill as an infant, keepers separated her from her mother for medical treatment. But when they tried to reunite them, her mother rejected her. Alone in a cage with unfamiliar gorillas, Coco had only one source of comfort: a plush toy gorilla she clutched like a surrogate mother, her small arms wrapped around it for reassurance. In those lonely months at the San Francisco Zoo, trapped in a small, temporary enclosure with little stimulation, no one could have predicted that this isolated infant would one day bridge the gap between two species. In 1972, everything changed. Francine Penny Patterson, a graduate student from Stanford University, arrived with an ambitious idea: teach a gorilla sign language. At the time, this was considered nearly impossible. Gorillas weren't thought to be as intelligent as other primates, and their reputation for aggression made them intimidating research subjects. But Penny saw something different in Coco. The early training sessions tested both their patience. Unlike teaching humans, Penny couldn't simply guide Coco's hands into the correct positions. The young gorilla refused to be touched. Instead, Penny spent hours showing Coco objects and repeatedly demonstrating signs, over and over and over. Then something remarkable happened. Coco didn't just imitate, she learned. She modified signs to suit herself, created her own gestures when confused, and even signed to herself when thinking, like a person muttering under their breath. The first sign she mastered was drink, one finger touching her lips while the others bent. It was the beginning of an extraordinary friendship. Coco moved from the zoo to a specially designed trailer laboratory on Stanford's campus. She had her own room but roamed freely through all areas, including Henny's quarters. There was a cage for safety, but it was never needed. By age 3, Coco had mastered 200 signs in American Sign Language. But she wasn't just memorizing, she was thinking. When shown a picture of another ape about to take a bath, knowing she hated bathing, Coco signed, "I cry there." Seeing a horse with a bridle in its mouth, she immediately signed, "Horse, sad teeth." Her sense of humor was unmistakable. Once, she jokingly called herself a good bird and claimed she could fly, only to admit she was kidding. Another time, she mischievously pulled Penny's hair, then laughed and signed an apology. These weren't trained responses. They were proof that Coco understood other beings had thoughts and feelings different from her own. Her linguistic creativity was stunning. When she didn't know a word, she invented one by combining familiar signs. Penny's ring became a finger bracelet. A mask was an eye hat. An empty cup prompted the sign, "Drink no." She called a swan a water bird without ever being taught the term. And ice cream? That was cold candy. Skeptics dismissed it as circus tricks, but the evidence was overwhelming. Alone, Coco played with her dolls and held long conversations with them in sign language. She tried signing to other animals, even inanimate objects. Her IQ tested between 70 and 90, below human average, but astonishing for any animal. She could draw like a 4-year-old, sketching her favorite toys and the world around her. She even had a boyfriend, a male gorilla named Michael, who also learned sign language. Later, another male named Indume joined them, creating the first pair of animals in history capable of communicating in human language. And they didn't just use it to trade bananas. Once, when Michael tore the leg off Coco's beloved doll, she furiously called him "dirty, bad toilet." In 1984, Coco made a birthday request. She wanted a kitten. Her caretakers brought several stray kittens for her to choose from. Coco carefully examined each one before selecting a small, tailless gray kitten. She named him Allball. What happened next moved the world. Coco treated the tiny kitten as her own baby, carrying him gently on her back, hugging him, even attempting to nurse him. Despite her massive size and strength, she was incredibly gentle, always careful not to hurt her fragile friend. Then tragedy struck. Allball escaped the enclosure and was hit by a car. When Penny told Coco the news, the gorilla sat in stunned silence. Then she began making soft, moaning sounds, the deep, sorrowful vocalizations gorillas use to express grief. She signed sad and bad, pressing her hands to her cheek in the sign for sleep. Over and over, she signed sleep cat, as if trying to accept that her friend had fallen asleep forever. For days afterward, Coco made sounds similar to human crying. She refused to play, repeatedly signed sad, lost her appetite, and withdrew socially. Her grief was profound and unmistakably real. Over the years, she adopted more kittens: Smokey, Lipstick, and, for her 44th birthday, Miss Black and Miss Gray. Videos of the massive gorilla gently stroking tiny kittens went viral, touching millions worldwide. As Coco's fame grew, so did the depth of our understanding of her inner world. She passed the mirror self-recognition test at age 19, immediately recognizing her own reflection, something most gorillas cannot do. She loved movies, especially Tea with Mussolini, and had a favorite TV show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. When she met Fred Rogers in person, she immediately recognized him and signed love while touching his sweater. She had a favorite bedtime story, The Three Little Pigs, and was so emotionally sensitive that she'd turn away from sad scenes in films to avoid getting upset. The dinosaurs in Jurassic Park frightened her so much she became hesitant to approach her toy dinosaurs afterward. Her photograph with Allball appeared on the cover of National Geographic, becoming one of the magazine's most iconic images. Celebrities visited her, including comedian Robin Williams, with whom she formed an immediate bond. A touching video shows them playing together, Coco trying on his glasses, inviting him to tickle her, making funny faces. When Williams died in 2014, Coco's reaction broke hearts. She became noticeably sad, walking around with a downcast expression. She signed cry and sad, became unusually quiet, and refused food for several hours. Her caretaker said she seemed to grasp the weight of the loss, mourning in a deeply human-like way. Coco's abilities extended beyond sign language. She learned to use a computer with symbols, typing words that the device would vocalize. She could hold a pen, select options from menus, and create basic drawings. In 2012, scientists were astonished when Coco blew into a recorder and produced sounds, something previously thought impossible for primates. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Coco's intelligence was her understanding of mortality. When shown a skeleton and asked if it was alive or dead, she signed dead. When asked where dead gorillas go, she calmly signed comfortable whole, then blew a gentle goodbye kiss. Once shown a skull and asked whose it was, she signed gorilla and then dead, revealing a deep awareness of mortality that left researchers in awe. In her later years, Coco became an ambassador for nature, using her voice to urge people to care for the planet. She signed a message that sent chills through everyone who heard it. Nature is watching you. On June 19, 2018, just weeks before her 47th birthday, Coco passed away peacefully in her sleep. In her final years, she developed arthritis and respiratory difficulties, but she was surrounded by those who loved her until the very end. Millions mourned her death. The Gorilla Foundation released a statement. Her legacy will live on, shaping our understanding of the emotional and cognitive abilities of gorillas. But before she left this world, Coco gave humanity one final message, words that force us to reflect on our relationship with nature. I am gorilla. I am flowers, animals. I am nature. Man, Coco love. Earth, Coco love. But man, stupid. Coco cry. Fix Earth. Help Earth. Nature see you. Thank you. In her final days, Coco became more introspective, often signing love and good gorilla, as if reassuring herself and those around her. Coco's story remains one of the most extraordinary examples of interspecies communication, emotion, and intelligence ever recorded. She proved that animals aren't just instinct-driven creatures. They're capable of complex emotions, creative thinking, humor, grief, and even contemplating mortality. She loved and was loved. She mourned and made others mourn. She created art, played music, invented words, and formed deep friendships across species lines. Most importantly, she held up a mirror to humanity, showing us that intelligence and emotion aren't uniquely human traits. Through her signs and her life, she asked us to recognize the consciousness in other beings and to take responsibility for the natural world. Her final message, "Man stupid, fix Earth," wasn't just a gorilla's observation. It was a warning we cannot afford to ignore. Coco's story should change how we see every animal on this planet. The gorilla who signed sad when her kitten died, who laughed at her own jokes, who mourned a comedian she'd only met once, she wasn't just a remarkable exception. She was a window into the rich emotional lives that exist all around us in creatures we too often dismiss or overlook. Right now, gorillas like Coco are disappearing from the wild. Habitat destruction, poaching, and climate change are pushing them toward extinction. The animals Coco tried to speak for, the flowers, animals, nature she signed about, are vanishing at an alarming rate. But we have the power to change that. We can support conservation efforts, make sustainable choices, protect habitats, and most importantly, recognize that we share this planet with beings who feel, think, and love just as deeply as we do. Coco spent her life building a bridge between humans and the natural world. Now it's our turn to honor that bridge by protecting what she loved. If Coco's story moved you, don't let it end here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that matter. Share this video with someone who needs to hear Coco's message. And drop a comment below telling us, what will you do differently after hearing Coco's warning? Together, we can be the generation that finally listens before it's too late. Thank you for watching, and remember, nature is watching you. Let's make Coco proud.